We entered here about a week ago.
Huh?
About a week ago.
About a week ago.
The language that was used and tolerated.
Now, the second don't I have for you is a bit more serious and has to do with the genocide here,
Conversation was unacceptable.
If you don't know, in 1994, 1 million people were massacred and killed here in Rwanda in about 100 days.
The language that was used and tolerated during that conversation was unacceptable.
Kind of going along with that is don't ask people if they're Hutu or Tutsi or Twa.
The language was unacceptable.
You don't do that. Actually, you're not even supposed to ask that here in Rwanda, so don't do that.
And it was appalling. They should all step down.
What should I say? Well, it all depends.
On what?
On what the president feels about it.
Look, the president is glad to see that one of the participants in that conversation has resigned.
What do you think of President Amin's decision to ask the British agents, to tell the British agents to leave Uganda?
I don't think I would have any comment about that.
Why?
Well, I just don't feel free to say anything about it.
Do you think it is right that the agents should go?
You've said you wanted to teach Britain a lesson, President. Why is that?
And that is now lesson I'm teaching the British.
Will you be taking over their businesses?
Yes, according to the government's help.
Uganda will be independent after this, my decision, after I want to see that the whole Kampala street is not full of Indians. It must be proper black and administration in those shops is run by the Ugandans.
It's good for them to go.
Why?
They have sacked us enough.
Would you like to get all Asians out, really, sir?
Yes.
What will happen to these people if they don't go by the time limit?
I think they will be sitting like they are sitting on the fire. I will tell you this. You just wait after 3 months.
What will you do to them?
Okay, you will see.
What do you think about the agents?
I want them to go.
You want them to go?
Oh, yes.
Why is that?
They kicked us.
I think they will not sit comfortable here in Uganda. I will tell you this. I must actually tell you the truth.
Have you asked the British to take them away, sir?
that you are building transit camp for them if they are not going?
I am not responsible for building them transit camp.
Have you asked the British to take them away, sir?
Yes, it is a British High Commissioner is here, his responsibility. Yes. I have told him. I am teaching now the lesson because I am correcting them from the mistake they had made. If they had think before earlier that there is African here who can even work under building the railway with the instruction given to them by the British, this problem will not happen.
Isn't this going to end your friendship with Britain?
I don't mind ending. What are you giving me? What is more you are giving me? British actually deceived me last year, giving me 10 million pounds. They never give up to now. When I had a really very critical problem of finance, up to now. Now I don't want that man again. And now they have given, I think every year, 4.5 million every year. But this, even if they withdrawn or they take it away, it will not mark in time Uganda even 1 minute. I must make this clear. But the British are my best friends. I
wish I understood that.
As the interview ended, the British High Commissioner, a lonely figure as he stood surrounded by Ugandan ministers, felt he must speak.
I explained to you this morning the difficulties which my government foresees in what you were proposing this morning and what you have announced this afternoon.
Tell me, what do you think about the fact that the British Asians are leaving?
Actually, that's a bit of a difficult question for me.
What do you think?
The same thing. I don't want a photo, please.
It's the same thing. Okay.
It doesn't want,
I like Asians.
What?
I like them.
You like Asians?
Yeah.
Are you sorry they're going?
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I like them. They can give us money in this market here. We are carrying for them baskets, you know? And they're giving us 5 shillings. That's why I like them.
What do you think about the Asians leaving Uganda?
And they should go.
They should go?
Yeah.
Uganda's only daily newspaper, the Argus, is dedicated to the support of General Amin. It offers no criticism of the military dictatorship it fears to offend. The Argus staff follow their leader's line.
From experience, we've discovered that Asians are very, very shrewd. And they've been exploiting this country for a very, very long time. So if the president gave them a very long time, they would have really succeeded in taking everything from this country.
Do you have no qualms at all about the decision to tell people to get out in 90 days?
Not at all. Why should I? I think President Amin is in the right direction.
But what about the queues of extremely worried and quite often frightened Asians saying, we don't know where we're going, we don't know what's going to happen to us, why can't we get out of the country, our papers are being held, that kind of thing. Doesn't that worry you at all?
But for people who have been living with Asians, we know how much they can panic, when it's a minor thing. And that's why we expected this. In fact, they are doing it better. We expected much more confusion than there is today.
Why?
Because they are known as the most panicky people in the world. If you've been living with these people, you would, just know that this is the right thing they're doing. There is no cause to worry at all.
The Asians say that the reason why that they dominate the economy is because they're actually better businessmen, that they're better at doing those kind of things than the Africans are. Willie?
No, it isn't. The fact is that the Africans were deprived of opportunities to get into trade. That's the whole point behind this.
Rebecca.
And again, going back to the this question of racialism, I think in the case of Uganda, this does not arise, because if you were to go back, to the coming of the Indians here, they were just imported by the British when they were constructing the railway line from Mombasa to Uganda, in the first place. So these people belonged to the British, not Uganda. And when Britain was leaving, when the British government was leaving, then they left their people behind, giving just a headache.
Another view would be that in fact they've sustained the economy, and now that they're going, the economy is going to collapse.
It will collapse for a short time, but I'm sure after the teething troubles, then the economy will come up.
The Asians were gaining much from us. And you said earlier that, the economy would collapse. Yeah, it will, maybe, for some time. But we are going to build up. We are ready to work hard for the country. We're not just going to sit behind and relax, leave nature take its own course.
Uganda's fragile economy is verging on collapse. If the whole business and commercial edifice of Kampala is not to crumble with the Asian exodus, if Amin is to win the economic war, then he'll need money and men. Otherwise machinery will run down, offices and shops will close, prices will rise, and thousands of Africans will find themselves without work. At the moment, even if the men are there, with £30 million of aid suspended, the money is not. It is no wonder that the Asians tremble. When the army speaks, Uganda listens. When the army acts, there is usually bloodshed. That is rarely out of the Asians' minds. As President Amin drives them closer to panic, they seek only escape, even if it is to a hostile shore. They queue for tickets, they queue for permits, they queue at ministries, they queue at the bank, but still they can't get out. In Kampala, the Asians are dazed and frustrated. The new threat that if they fail to leave before the deadline, they'll be sent into concentration camps run by the army turns anxiety into fear.
But they all should. He believes that they all should resign. The language that was used and tolerated during that conversation was unacceptable, and it was appalling.
Don't be disrespectful when going to the genocide memorials or talking about the genocide and stuff like that, because it's still a touchy subject.
They should all step down.
So it's best to kind of avoid that kind of topic.
And here's the difference between Democrats and MAGA Republicans. When a Democrat says something racist or anti-Semitic, we hold Democrats accountable. When a MAGA Republican says something racist or anti-Semitic, they are embraced by cheering crowds and become celebrated and sought after endorsements.
So just make sure that you're being respectful as well, talking about the genocide and stuff like that. kind of going along.
Look, the president is glad to see that one of the participants in that conversation has resigned, but they all should. Look, the president is glad to see that one of the participants in that conversation has resigned, but they all should. He believes that they all should resign. The language that was used and tolerated during that conversation was unacceptable, and it was appalling. They should all step down. And here's the difference between Democrats and MAGA Republicans. When a Democrat says something racist or anti-Semitic, we hold Democrats accountable. When a MAGA Republican says something racist or anti-Semitic, they are embraced by cheering crowds and become celebrated and sought after endorsements. But they all should. He believes that they all should resign. The language that was used and tolerated during that conversation was unacceptable, and it was appalling. They should all step down. And here's the difference between Democrats and MAGA Republicans. When a Democrat says something racist or anti-Semitic, has resigned, but they all should. He believes resigned, but they all should. He believes that they all should resign. The language that was used and tolerated during that conversation was unacceptable, and it was appalling. They should all step down. And here's the difference between Democrats and MAGA Republicans. When a Democrat says something racist or anti-Semitic, we hold Democrats accountable. When a MAGA Republican says something racist or anti-Semitic, they are embraced by cheering crowds and become celebrated and sought after endorsements. And here's the difference between Democrats and MAGA Republicans. When a Democrat says something racist or anti-Semitic, we hold Democrats accountable. When a MAGA Republican says something racist or anti-Semitic, they are embraced by cheering crowds and become celebrated and sought after endorsements. Look, the president is glad to see that one of the participants in that conversation has resigned, but they all should. He believes that they all should resign. The language that was used and tolerated during that conversation was unacceptable, and it was appalling. They should all step down. And here's the difference between Democrats and MAGA Republicans. When a Democrat says something racist or anti-Semitic, we hold Democrats accountable. When a MAGA Republican says something racist or anti-Semitic, they are embraced by cheering crowds and become celebrated and sought after endorsements. The language that was used and tolerated during that conversation was unacceptable, and it was appalling. They should all step down. And here's the difference between Democrats and MAGA Republicans. When a Democrat says something racist or anti-Semitic, we hold Democrats accountable. When a MAGA Republican says something racist or anti-Semitic, they are embraced by cheering crowds and become celebrated and sought after endorsements.